Well, welcome to this LEAP seminar in conjunction with Garth Brown. I'll be presenting on this topic, innovative business ideas to improve conveyancing practices. So we've got some really good information to share with the audience with this particular webinar. There's a few more details about the qualifications and experiences and some of the awards that I've won in this particular sector. Also too, I do coaching and mentoring and training in the area. So if you're looking to improve your practice in some way, I'll have some good advice with some coaching and mentoring. I'm available for that. I'm also an expert in the area and spent a lot of my adult life studying and thinking about conveyancing, not only the risks, but also how to run a successful practice. We'll have a look at some housekeeping here. So as you can see there on the left-hand side, there's a palm. If you could raise to indicate that you're receiving the audio clearly. Want to make sure that you can hear very well. So firstly, if you could get everyone to please raise their hand using this little green icon in the top left-hand side of the screen so we know that you can hear us. And I wanted to say too that today's webinar is in listen-only mode, which means you can hear us, but we are unable to hear you, as you can see from the microphone. So please be sure to type in any questions that you have during the webinar, and at the bottom there of the screen, and I'll attempt to answer these at the end of the webinar. We've got some good information to share, what to expect from this webinar, or how to make a lifetime client, how to price differently for your conveyancing work. We're going to look at how we can move toward no office rent or bonds. Wouldn't that be nice? Reduce stress on having to cover overhead, how to do that. And then we'll encourage some questions to come through at the end so that we can help one another on different thoughts that have come through during the presentation. So we'll look at a webinar objective there, how to make a lifetime client. So that's one part of that. Then, as I said before, we look at how to get away from paying rent, office rent and bonds, and please type in questions. So conveyancing marketing that really works. So we're looking at how you can have a lifetime client, attract a lifetime client. That's really what we're trying to do here. And these are the 4 different avenues to have and attract a lifetime client. Now, a lifetime client, once you've got them for life. They're a reoccurring cash flow to your firm. And these are the ideal clients to have for your practice. They pay well. They don't cause you trouble. They listen to your counsel. They're helpful. They leave everything to you, and they respect you, and they pay your bill without issue. These are the type of clients that you want to attract to your practice. And we're going to look at those 4 avenues so that you can keep and maintain a lifetime client that's a good client. Now, my first suggestion there is to set up a database of clients to actually segmentize them. So what that really means is go to your Outlook or a CRM program, and as you accumulate clients, even from day one when you open your practice, if you've just started, really start to put their name and their email address and even some comments into the notes panel of your Outlook for your contacts there on each one of those. You might want to classify them as an A client, as a B client. A client, they're really good to deal with. They don't cause you issues. They pay your bills. Maybe a B client, yeah, they're okay to deal with, but there's a bit of heckling over price, and sometimes they wouldn't accept what you were talking about. So you could classify them that way. They could be a banker of some kind. They could be a real estate agent. They could be a family and friend. So you could classify them all into those different classifications, but really create a database of clients. That really is the key to having a pipeline of clients to your firm, by setting up that database and contacting them every so often, which will develop a little bit further as we go through the presentation. Also too, it's very, very vital that a website is professional, that it's up to date, that it's secure, because this is the 24-hour business card for your conveyancing business. People will assess you on the quality of your website. So if it's a cheap website, a client will generally conclude that you do cheap work. And in that case, you will possibly more inclined to attract a cheap client that's going to cause you trouble, that doesn't want to pay what you're worth, that will just want to do what they want to do. Conversely, if you have a very professional site, you will attract a much better quality client in the long run, because they don't basically see you anymore as a practitioner. They judge you on the quality of your website. So that really is your bricks and mortar business, what you have online, your online footprint. So be very careful in this area. Pay good money to have a good website made for you, and ensure, as I say there, that it's client-centric, that you're answering, your clients' questions, the stress points that they have during a conveyance, how you can supply a good short video so they get to know you as the person. It might be a video that goes for 60 or 90 seconds introducing who you are, what you do, and how you can help the client. Because they'll look at you and say, well, do I trust this person or don't I trust them? Was the video professionally produced, or was it just something that was done very quickly on an iPhone and just slapped up to the website? Were you dressed well? Did you speak well? Did you know what you're talking about? Was there any ums and ahs? Was there too many of them? So these are the sort of things you need to be aware of when constructing a website. Don't have a lot of detail on it. Just have detail there, or a video that answers those stress points for clients and why they should use you. With your qualifications, with your testimonials, they're very important as well. Clients are attracted to a service based on testimonials, so make sure they're on your website. Ebooks are another way to be very, very helpful to your practice. What these do is it's a publication. So instead of sending out a paper publication, you have a book online, and the person can just scroll through that and understand what to expect as a guide between initial instructions right through to settlement. So it really does stop the amount of phone calls and emails that are coming into your office, because if the client is reading that book that's in point form, they're able to understand what to expect, and a lot of their stress points have been addressed by reading this book that you send out. So that's another great way to look at marketing that really works. Apps are another good way as well. So you can construct one that's in the Google Play Store or the App Store, or you could develop what's known as a web app. And as I say there, that was the marketing website video. So that's another way. Nice, simple, clear website, and an app beside it there. You've got a video, keep it professional, be well dressed, know what you're talking about. As I say there, marketing ebooks, they're excellent. They're an excellent little publication to send through to clients. Marketing apps, well, that's very, very important, because you can use what's known as a web app now, as well as like a Google app. You could have, a web app is something where the person, similar to SettleMe, the SettleMe app, where you log in from on the internet to a website that's basically an app, and they're updated as to what steps are left to engage with, similar to SettleMe. Or you can set up your own in the App Store or on Google Play. So that's another very innovative way to try and keep clients as a lifetime for a lifetime, because by keeping in touch with them, really, it is what keeps you top of mind in the buying cycle. Also, too, you need to be aware of social media. Now, social media is a very good way to attract new clients and keep in touch with existing ones. And the key to social media is that the strategy or the posting and the types of posts and the content of posts are consistent and are executed 2 or 3 times a week. And it's all about getting people to like the articles that you're sharing. So a good way to go about social media marketing in conveyancing is to select articles that are happening, say in the Sydney market. It might be that prices are dropping, some suburbs are dropping out of the $1 million brackets. Others are alerting people of issues like meth labs, what's going on there. Some people are trying to get into regional markets now rather than into the CBD markets. And then you consistently post these out to a demographic. So you select your ages, might be between 25 and 49. They've got interest in property. They might be male, female, distance say 10 miles from the city or up to 30 miles from the city or kilometres. And then you post out, and then Facebook will send that out to that demographic with that particular article with the name of who's sharing that. So it could be your firm, or it would be your firm, because initially you really want to set up a Facebook page, Facebook business page, and I would have that professionally done. And then you would then start sharing articles that you find online or on Facebook, and then you pick out who you're going to market to. And that's the difference between social media marketing and other types of marketing. You get to choose your demographic and your budgets and for how long, the ages, the interests, where they live. And it's much more effective by doing that 2 or 3 times a week, rather than spending, say, for example, I knew a lawyer on the Gold Coast who spent $50,000 on bus advertising for his firm about what he does. He had zero uptake from spending all that money on advertising on buses. But this is why social media is better, because you're actually picking out the market that you want to market to. So that was something I wanted to also point out. But the key to social media marketing, you've got to do it consistently. You've got to do it 2 or 3 times a week. You can use that via a Facebook marketing app, which is an app that manages all your marketing, and it's something that I use. So, and that sets budgets, ages, and the different types of demographics. So really, that's the key. Keep at it, keep it consistent. Use the apps that are available to distribute that. But this is the reason why, again, social media marketing, it focuses on your defined market, not just to anyone, your defined market that you want to attract to your business, and you keep in the client's mind during their buying and selling cycle over their lifetime. Now, marketing that works. Now, remember earlier I spoke about the database of clients to keep. Well, there's a reason why we do that, plus segmentize them, because from that database, once a month, you need to send out an e-newsletter and get external help with that. That really is the king of conveyancing matter of marketing. So if you've got a client that's A or B, they're a good client or they're middle of the range, you've got referral people, such as mortgage brokers or agents, friends and family, or anyone in those sort of segmentized from the database, you're sending out once a month a nice, clean newsletter. It could be as to do with electronic signatures on contracts. Are they acceptable? you might be able to, what you would do there is write no more than 4 paragraphs on that interesting question. And it's a drip feed marketing. It's an interesting question, and it doesn't go on and on. You don't talk about yourself. You just have a link back to your website and your phone number. So people will read that article because they know you and they like you and they trust you. And then they will go ahead, and when it's time to buy or sell, or a family or friend, I remember I get these newsletters that come through quite regularly, and fellow here or this particular firm can really help you with what you're doing. So that really is the key of marketing. So that's why you need to make sure that you have a database of clients, they're segmentized, and you have a professional e-newsletter that goes out once a month. And it's no more than 3 or 4 paragraphs. It's on an interesting topic, an interesting question. And you keep in touch with your clients that way, because if you don't do that, you're missing out on a lot of work, because this is where a lot of good clients come from. Because they already know you, they like you, they trust you, they've paid good fees, you get them to come back to your office as the first point of call when it comes to buying and selling either themselves or their family and friends. So that's a real key point I want to convey from the webinar, and really encourage you to get some professional help to get that off the ground for you. So that can come through with coaching and mentoring, which I can help you with if you wanted to. Another point I wanted to move on to now is 3 alternate ways to pricing conveyancing work or legal work. Now, with so many of our practices, when it comes particularly to new clients, they will ring around for a quote to complete the full work. They have no idea of what's involved with this particular type of speciality. They just think it's just putting someone's name on a contract or on a title, and away you go. When there's so much responsibility, there's so many issues that happen, not just what's written in the contract, but outside of the contract. And you want to really get away from the situation where someone says, oh, someone down the road is $600 cheaper than what you are, and they sort of like send you off to an auction. They auction you off to the cheapest bidder. And that's something you don't really want to get involved with, because the person who's doing that doesn't really understand what conveyancing is about and the responsibilities and some of the issues that they've got no idea about. And the way to deal with that, as I say there's 3 alternate ways to pricing for conveyancing or legal work. One of the biggest key there is to undertake a contract review and to be paid for it. And then from there are 3 different ways that you can price for your work: fixed fee agreement, a percentage-based pricing, and a subscription model. So we'll go through those as we go through the webinar. But it is a real bugbear in the conveyancing industry is, how much do you charge? How do you deal with that? So many people fall into that trap of going ahead and saying it's a couple of $1,000 plus costs, and you just hear the phone just go straight down because they don't know what they're getting into. They're just hearing thousands of dollars. They're not worried about if they're spending $1 million plus 80 grand on stamp duty and adjustments and all this sort of thing. So you really need to stop that. And the way to do that is to conduct a contract review. And you want to be paid for it. So for instance, if a client rings up and says they're going to auction, how much do you charge? Well, the way to deal with that says, look, do you have a contract? If you've got a contract from the agent on email, you can email it through to us. We'll review it. We'll point out the peculiarities and what to watch out for. There is a price involved. We do charge this amount to do that for you. And then from there, we're able to understand what time and particular expertise and experience we need to apply to the contract, because otherwise we're just pulling numbers out of the air. We need to understand what we're getting into and how we can protect you. So this is really the way to go about to get away from how much do you charge, and that is to charge for a contract review for someone who's a purchaser. And that's the way to handle that. So don't be afraid to charge. You're a professional. Your time is valuable. It is important to do that because otherwise it will be a race to the bottom. The other way to deal too with vendors is I've found that if someone rings up and says, look, I'm thinking of selling, and the idea behind a seller really is to, in most cases I've found over the years, is to sell for the highest price and keep the conveyancing fees down as low as you can. And this is people who are potential new clients. So the way to handle that, again, your time is valuable. What you could say to the particular vendor client is, look, we'll send you a questionnaire. We need to understand what we're getting into. We don't give ballpark figures. We need to understand from a telephone interview of about 25 to 30 questions, what to expect, what issues do you know about the property. So it gives us a better idea. Probably takes about half an hour, 45 minutes of our time. We charge X dollars to do this. And then you're able to really to move on anybody who's price-based, who just wants a quick price and wants to just ring around for an auction you off. And that's the way you get away from that. Just a little bit at a time, demonstrate value, whether it's a vendor or a purchaser, and that's the way to move forward from there. So I think the whole industry really needs to look at doing that more often, is to get a paid contract review or a paid vendor telephone interview, to get away from that idea of just ringing around for who's the cheapest, how we can get out of this the quickest way. And it was also a very good risk management tool too, because anybody that's generally price-based will probably sue you for as much as they can get if you make a mistake. And this is the type of client that would do it. But if you're going through these processes of paid contract review, a paid telephone interview, then you're really pushing off to someone else this type of client who has that sort of quality in them. Now, the 3 ways to price. So our first one there that we'll have a look at is a fixed fee agreement. Now, a fixed fee agreement, a lot of us will, after doing that paid contract review, either for a purchaser or for a vendor, will prepare a report and then outline value. These are the things you need to be aware of. If you're acting for a purchaser, you would say, well, if it's going to sell for $1 million, you've got something like $45,000 in stamp duty, and the other on costs will be adjustments for council water and strata, might be another $1,800. So these are the type of cash flows that are involved with a purchase. Really emphasize those. And then from your contract review, you might be issues regarding building approvals or extensions, whether there's a pool compliance certificate, land tax, is that payable, foreign resident capital gains exemptions. You go through a whole list of things that you outline in your contract review, and then you state the purchase price, you look at the stamp duties, you look at the adjustments. And then you're in a position then, after outlining value from your research, what your fixed fee will be to conduct the conveyance. And that's more palatable to a potential client, whether it's vendor or purchaser, than for someone just to ring up on the phone, how much do you charge? $1,800 plus cost, and the phone just dropped down like that. And you're actually, as I said before, you're really you're sifting out the men from the boys who really appreciate you, who really trust and respect you, because you're outlining value and they're paying for your time to do that, for that contract review. You prepare the report, and then you're able to give them a fixed fee on what you can do the work for. So that's one way. And it's probably a lot of ways that conveyancers and lawyers work at the moment on that way. Now, our second, and also, sorry, when we go back to fixed fee, you really need to outline your qualifications, your experiences, your awards. These are the things that differentiate you from other practices as well. And this is why you charge more than others. And I want to say too, there's nothing wrong with being the most expensive. Why can't it be me? Because you get what you pay for. The more money you pay for things, the better quality you get. You just got to look at dishwashers. Merely dishwashers versus a Fisher and Paykel, one of those cheaper lines. Merely is such a far superior product. And when it comes to service, the more you pay for a service, the better the quality and investigation and the better quality client you attract. So you need to also include experience, qualifications, awards, demonstrate value through a paid contract review, vendor or purchaser. You need to then outline the peculiarities to be aware of, and then you're in a position to tender what your fee will be. So we'll go on to our second way of pricing, and that's noticed as percentage-based pricing. So again, after that process of a paid contract review, you go through and you demonstrate your knowledge and expertise through a report on the contract, whether it's vendor or purchaser. Then you might charge, well, you know, we would charge 0.5% of the purchase price as our professional fees, or it might be 1/4% of the purchase price as your professional fees. And then you compare those to the stamp duty, the adjustments for council, water and strata, and then for the actual sale or purchase price of the property. So that's another way that you could go about with pricing your work, but very important, you need to demonstrate value. You just can't rattle off a couple of thousand, 2,000 or 3,000 plus costs, because people that don't understand will just hang up on you. You need to demonstrate value through this process. So there's the percentage model. So that works. I've used that before. I've used fixed fee. They've both worked very well for me because 1/4% of the sale price, that's not a lot of money really compared to the responsibility, or 1/2%. It's nothing really when an agent's getting, what, 2 or 3%. So you need to really demonstrate those cash flows, the values of them, whether it's sale or purchase, to really outline value. Because when a person understands value, then they're really to part with money and understand, well, this is going to protect me. You get what you pay for. Next one to have a look at is what's known as a subscription model. Now, this is quite an interesting model. So again, if you do your pre-contract paid examination, you demonstrate value for a pre-contract examination report, whether it's vendor or purchaser, you outline the cash flows, and then you might say, well, over the 6-week period, our firm, for handling this file plus handling all the responsibilities, would charge, I don't know, what, $550 or $650 over a 6-week period to cover our professional fees each week for the conveyance. So that's another way of going about to charge for your work, a subscription model. So they subscribe to your services and they pay a weekly subscription fee for you to handle their conveyancing work. So that's another innovative way to price for your work there. Now, this is all linked in together with, getting money in, pricing properly to get money in, and how to keep people in that buying cycle, the buying and selling top of mind, marketing for that e-newsletter. You also too need to keep your costs down, because this is the biggest stress, I believe, in operating a conveyancing practice, is the cost to keep the doors open. And the biggest cost there is the monthly or weekly rental that you've got to come up with, plus the bond when you first go into an office for bricks and mortar. So we're going to talk about how to stop large monthly rentals and office bonds. How we're going to look at a virtual office, how that works, the costs, and how you can move toward that via a hybrid model, and what is stopping you. So that's what we'll have a look at there. Now, the biggest stress operating a conveyancing practice is trying to keep on top of the overheads. So if you can keep them down, you're halfway there, because you want money coming in and less money going out. So I would suggest to look at this environment because it's professional. It's better than a home office where people come to your home and signing documents and all of this sort of thing. That's all changed now with the technology that's involved, the online world, particularly with e-conveyancing and e-settlements and exchanging contracts electronically and digitally, signing contracts and funds being transferred online. Everything being handled over different types of communication methods to your client, online methods. More and more less clients are coming into bricks and mortar practices all the time. And there are some that I do know that all they walk around with is a laptop. They don't ever see a client. They identify them through the different technology apps. They don't have any monthly rental, no bonds, no money for outlay for furniture and carpets and alarms and insurances. Some are just, they operate just as a one-man show, which is fine. They're just as effective as some of these larger firms, profitability-wise. And all they do is walk around with a laptop. And they have someone that answers their calls. So that's something to really have a good look at, that one. The biggest stress in operating conveyancing practice, moving to a virtual office. So operating a conveyancing or legal practice. So see how professional, very nice desk, nice chair, central location. So this is how you can stop large monthly rental payments and office bonds. So if that goes out of your practice, it really frees up cash and frees up time and reduces a lot of stress, as I said before. So you can stop that large rental fee that comes up every month. Now, how does that work? Well, it's really a central business location. It has different rooms that are set up, boardrooms, up-to-date furniture, up-to-date technology such as where you can share information on flat screen monitors or on computers. You can talk to your client there at the office if you need to. You have someone who professionally answers your telephones and can take messages or forward calls onto you wherever you're located. They can accept your mail and then they can scan mail back to you. And really mailing's becoming less and less of an issue now, with transfers basically being done through PEXA now, an online transfer. So a lot of that information is not really required by post anymore. But a virtual office is a great way of keeping your costs down. And how it works is it's really a modern office that you just use as you need. So you just pay for office space as you need it, but you have someone that answers your telephones, looks after your mail, as I said before. Costs? Well, I think presently I'm paying about 70 cents a phone call that's answered by a virtual assistant or a virtual receptionist. All my mail goes there, and I don't really use the meeting rooms because I don't really need that. So I've really just got a virtual assistant, but if I do need to use the meeting rooms, it's probably about $35 an hour I've paid before to use one of the professional meeting rooms. And probably at the end of the month, I'm probably paying about, I don't know, between $250 and $300 a month to run a virtual office that people think I'm professionally sitting in 5 days a week, 9 to 5. and I can be anywhere else and connected to with my home office. So it's a really good way to operate. Really encourage you to look at that. Keep your costs down, price well and market well. That's really the purpose of our webinar today. Now you might be like me where, you know, when I had my own bricks and mortar office, and then it was a big leap to leave that because I put a lot of effort into that, renovating it, putting money into carpets, furniture, alarms, fitting it out. And then the online world hits and you leave that and you go to a virtual world. Well, what helped me a lot was I moved to what was known as a hybrid model. So before I left the office, I had the virtual receptionist handling all my calls. So we weren't getting any calls into our bricks and mortar office. It was just basically transfer calls or messages that we would get through, and then we would ring the client from there. So we could get rid of a lot of calls that were just a waste of time. So that was a bit of a mixture between a virtual office and bricks and mortar office. And then eventually we just went for the big leap and transferred everything virtually. And we started working from home, which was connected to the virtual office, kept up the marketing, and kept in touch with previous clients, and away we went. It was a big leap of faith. Yes, it was. But, you know, life's a risk. If we don't take these risks, we don't know where we'll end up. So it's worked out for me. And it's also good to get coaching too, if you're, or mentoring about maybe taking that leap of faith. So as I say here, well, what's stopping you? Well, sometimes it's fear of the unknown, fear of what the outcome will be. But fear, if you conquer the fear and move forward with good coaching and good support around you and get used to how that model works, yes, it's uncomfortable for a little while. I experienced that and understand it. But anything in life, if you get uncomfortable, you really grow from. So if someone else has done it, well, why can't you do it? So what's stopping you is just trying to deal with that fear of failure, fear of the unknown, fear of change. Now, what's stopping you? Well, you'll be your own boss. You work your own hours. You'll earn better money than working for someone, and the overheads are low. You can't get any better than that. So that's something to really help you, to encourage you to go ahead and adopt that model, because it's really the gold standard in working. If you can be your own boss, work your own hours, earn better money than working for someone, and keep your overheads low, well, you can't get any better than that. So what I've spoken about is a formula to help you to do that when it comes to running your own legal firm. Whether you're specialising in conveyancing, family law, or wills and estates, or whatever, this is something to consider. You might want to pick 1 or 2 points here and there, make a big change to what you're doing. You may want to adopt all that I've spoken about, but that's something that I'm sure will help you. So as we get toward the end of our webinar there, I've got a special offer at the moment. So if you email me there's an email address there. You can sign up today for 4 monthly consults. There's a special rate there of $195 per month per consult. So if you have 4 of those, each of them will be $195, and I can help you out and give you some really good advice on how to improve what you're doing, keep your overheads low, how to price for your work, and how to keep that income coming in, and what's worked for me, what hasn't, some of the up-to-date technologies that are involved. So that's a special webinar offer. I've also got my book there as well, the step-by-step guide to operating successful conveyancing or legal practice. So that's available, as I say there in the bottom right-hand corner there. Download guide, that's conveyancers.net.au/guide/. But we'll send a link to you after the webinar. And that's something I thought I could share with you today. So take advantage of that special offer of 4 monthly consults for $195 each per month. And to take advantage of that email, there's my email address there, garth@conveyancers.net.au. So we would like to appreciate your time that you spent with us today. I've tried to keep it straight to the point. Please keep those questions coming in. And we'll leave it there. I think we've covered enough today. and we'd like to wish everyone all the best. Thank you.